A very good morning on this May 2nd. Can't believe it's May already, but it's a beautiful day out, and we have Reverend Donna Smith with us. Always a pleasure. And she will be discussing her service, Your Life is Your Message. So, JC wanted to go first.
Well, thank you, Donna, for presenting an exciting title and then managing to make it succinct so that you could take notes and actually come up with something. So Lillian and I have already shared each other's question and how we feel our life is carrying that question forward. And it's just, it's really an accessible process. And thank you for that.
Thank you, JC. Yes. I think the most important thing for anything that we do is awareness.
Yes.
And, you know, when people bring you some things to think about, and you do think about them through that awareness, you know, I think that's really an important part of our growing process. I know that in the past, people have said something about me or whatever, and I would think, no, I don't do that, or no, I'm not that way. But as I think about it, yes, I was. You know, so it's just that awakening. Oh, I can see it now. So it's that, you know, looking at yourself and seeing these things. So yeah.
Okay. And Connie wanted to go next.
Well, you know me, I take notes when I'm listening. And I have a couple questions that I'd like us maybe to talk about. And one of them was following passions of your heart. In my experience, particularly with my grandkids, and a lot of them are teenagers, if I ask them that question, what is the passion in your heart? I think most of them would say, other than Adriana, I have no idea. In fact, they might not even know what I'm talking about. And my experience, even with adult children, is they would find that a very tough question. So how can we be living the passions of our heart if we don't even know what they are? That's my question.
I don't know if you can, if you don't know what they are. However, if you have the intention to find out what they are, I would direct you right to your heart, because your heart's going to tell you that.
So what would you say to a teenager?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, what makes you feel complete and happy when you're doing it, when you're seeing it, when you're, I don't know if they're music, if they play, does that, you know, does that make your heart just sing? And, you know, give them some examples. I think a lot of our children today don't understand what it means to go to the heart. So maybe start there. You know, I really don't think that they're taught that. And I don't know that. I probably shouldn't have said that. I don't think there's an emphasis on that in our world out there. And so I think it would be a great thing to teach them about the heart and its powerfulness. And, you know, it's really about them knowing themselves. And when their attention is out in the world, they're not going to really be focusing on them and what they want. Because I know, especially if the younger children, they really want to do and be what their peers are. You know, they all want to do the same thing and be like that, so they're accepted. So they're not really directed to look within to their heart. So I think that's probably one way we can help them, is start teaching them about that, to look in their hearts.
You know, it's too bad you weren't here last week, where we brought in young guests to be able to talk about some of these very issues. Yeah. Laura Lee had something, and then I think I saw JC's hand go up.
I just wanted to point out that I think this younger generation, and no one is present here that fits into that category. But
Oh, hush.
the
What are you saying?
Yeah.
but I, being associated with a couple of middle school children, 14 and 12 years of age, if you asked them and I have asked the 14-year-old, what's his passion in life, and he shrugs his shoulders. He really doesn't care. All he wants to do is play his games on his videos. And I think this generation has missed out on how to learn to communicate with each other on a more intimate, personal level. They relate to their peers as a, hey, you want to play so-and-so, what is it called, Minecraft or whatever. And
Fortnite.
yeah, any of those. And I don't know where it's headed to. What are they going to be like when they're 65, 70 years of age? Are they ever going to find that passion in their heart? Or, well, even younger than that, if they're 20, 30 years of age, how are they going to know what to do for their lives? What is their passion? I don't know. That's kind of a downer, because these two kids that I'm monitoring for middle school don't seem to, have, you ask them what they, like Caleb, he wants, I asked him what he wants to do in high school next year, what's his electives, and all he could do is shrug his shoulders. I don't know. And he really so difficult.
Donna, did you want to respond to that?
Well, yeah, that's why I think the heart math that I use, in our meditations, and I've talked about before, which directs us to our heart. I think that is one of the most important things that we have now as a tool, maybe, to help us to go in. And I think teaching those kind of things to our children could help them a lot, because it would just open up that option for them. I don't know if they even think about that option, and I don't know, because I'm not a teacher, I don't know if they're shown that option. I don't know. But I do also know a lot of young adults who haven't a clue either. And it's like they're lost, because there's nothing else that inspires them. And I'm strong advocate of going within to find that out. And people are not going in within these days as much as they used to, in ancient times. But so I think it would be a disservice to our children if we didn't teach them about themselves also.
So JC, I know you had your hand up, but Sharon wanted to jump in, and then we'll go to you, then Kim.
Well, Donna touched on that you have to teach the teachers first. And I do know locally there is yoga in Myrtle Creek Elementary. There had been yoga in Green. And I approached the high school with Qigong, but they did not go with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got a long way to go.
Yeah, and yoga is a wonderful way to start.
Well, Qigong is too, but yoga usually, because it's more popular, overshadows Qigong, and people don't understand that Qigong is ancient, maybe more ancient than yoga is. But there might be some bias because we're friendlier to India than we are to China. So there's my 2 cents.
Well, it could be just, what we talk about, like you were saying. I mean, everybody knows the word yoga because there's a lot of it around and taught, and it's wonderful. And Qigong it almost sounds mystical, where yoga probably doesn't sound that way.
Well, it did in the 60s.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't known. It was just coming to the US in the 50s. But Tai Chi, which is a form of Qigong, came in, most people know Tai Chi, but they don't understand it's only part of Qigong.
Mhm.
So, there's a long way to go.
Well, and also Tai Chi is a legitimate martial art. Qigong is a health practice. So,
Well, there's a soft practice of Tai Chi also.
Mhm.
Not
Right.
always.
right.
It depends
But-
on the yin form or the yang form.
Sure, but it's an extension of that. Like one translation of Tai Chi is ultimate boxing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. JC.
Well, thinking of your average 14, 15, 16-year-old kid, unless some particular thing has happened, they're still trying to figure out ways in which they're not their parents. So I think that they're really not ready to define a passion, but I do think that they could answer of what happens in their life where they feel empty, or what might happen that they have such a good feeling. They might understand those two kinds of things, because I think often children feel empty when they're involved with something they value, but they haven't made up their mind about how to do it. So they're still looking at what their parents tell them to do or what their friends tell them to be. So I'm not sure 13 or 14-year-olds know what their passions are, but I think they know when they feel empty and when they feel a part of something. And the other thing is, if you're dealing with children, come on, let's not tie them down to anything at that age. Let's just encourage them to try things, knowing that later they'll know what their passions are.
Yep.
Did anyone see We Bought a Zoo?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a wonderful movie, and it's about the children or of the young boy who did not want to move out into the country because the dad bought a zoo. And it's about his change from going to, the typical, they just want to be with their friends and do these kind of things. He started, appreciating life, appreciating the animals, and it just changed him tremendously. And it's just a wonderful movie about, finding yourself, finding, compassion in your life and respecting life. But yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful movie.
I live in a
Kim
zoo.
wanted to say something.
We are doing a disservice with our children in schools by what we're teaching them right now. And it seems like there's a lot of teachers out there that either don't want to teach or they're not teaching stuff that motivates kids in adult life. And it really kind of angers me as a teacher myself that that's what we're doing to our kids. Because they're teaching them to hate things and to hate themselves. And I've been hearing stuff like that on TV, and I'm like, just what the heck are we doing to our kids in schools? If I were a parent, I would almost just want to homeschool them to make sure that they're getting the right proper teaching.
3 children.
So I think a lot of this kids shrugging their shoulders is because they go to school and teachers are telling them that they're not worth anything. And then, well, what do you do? How's a kid supposed to grow if they're being told that they're not good enough in life?
Let's give Donna a chance to respond to that, and then Julianne, and if nobody else, then Laura Lee.
Yeah, I certainly hear your frustration, and I have not had children, so I do not know, all of the intimate parts of that, or, seeing my children, in school or anything like that. So I can't really speak to that. However, just from what I know of what, for instance, you have shared and others have shared, it just seems like we need to really pay attention to what we are teaching our children, because we tend to be teaching them the ways of the world instead of the ways of the heart, and how to deal with the ways of the world, and that. So yeah, I hear your frustration.
And then the kids don't know how to read and stuff. I was like, isn't that what we're going to school for?
Yeah. I remember I had I was going to hire someone to help me when I had my CPA firm, and these were young adults, and they gave me resumes with misspelled words, incomplete sentences, and I was shocked. These were children, out of high school, and yet they couldn't even write a sentence. Not all of them, but many of them could not even write a full sentence. And I was shocked. I really was. So, something has to be done.
Fighting the urge to editorialize here. Julianne, go ahead.
I'd just like to bring things back to your life is your message and follow the passions of your heart. These are topics that everyone here is of a certain age group and is privileged enough to have the time to even think about these questions. If you're busy doing your life and you got kids and 2 or 3 jobs and house payments and car payments and craziness, just the regular hecticness of your life, you don't have time to think about following the passions of your life. Maybe in the middle of the night, but not really.
Do you really think that's true of everyone here?
I think you're privileged enough to have the time to think about it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So Lurley and then Lillian.
I was taken back by Kim's comments. I'm flabbergasted. You said something about teaching hate, and I have several friends that are teachers. I don't, of course, all my 10 years in the 5th grade at the elementary school, I did not witness any of the 5th grade teachers teaching that type of thing. And it was my job to help the students capitalize, punctuate, and write sentences. So I guess I just feel like, getting resumes from high school students, of course, it's different. Back then it's different than it is now, because all they do is go on the computer and it will self edit, so
right.
I don't know.
So I'm going to exercise a little bit of moderator privilege here, because Donna gave a very apolitical sermon, and I can see this conversation veering towards the political. But Kim, I'll give you since you were addressed directly, let's give you a chance to respond, and then we'll move to Lillian and then Anne Claire.
Well, from what I've been hearing is that they're teaching kids, white kids, that they are not worth anything. And I don't know exactly how they're teaching it, but I'm just thinking, if that's what we're doing in our schools, how are you supposed to be as a child thinking that you're horrible a person
right.
because of the color of your skin?
So I think
that's just what I've been hearing.
Right. And I think that a lot of us are very concerned about critical race theory as it's being taught in the school. I think this would be a better conversation for like an AEO in the future, or a discussion group. So let's go ahead and we'll keep it moving. Unless you have something to say, it's your Sunday.
Well, I'm not a teacher, and I'm not, privy to what goes on into the classroom. So I really don't know that I can respond.
Fair enough.
I'm just hoping that's not the case, but I do not know.
Okay. So let's move to Lillian, and then we'll go to Anne Claire.
I have a lot of thoughts in my mind, but I kind of wanted to respond to approaching young people for that which might be significant or important or a passion to them. I've always found with my grandkids, the biggest dead end was to ask a question. Yeah. I mean, they might look up for whatever they were doing, but, you know, response was going to be pretty low. And I was reminded yesterday when JC and I were walking out of the house, and earlier we'd been over to the neighbors, and they have a child. Her name's Justice, and she's real cute. She's about, what, 3.5, 4. And a little brother, and his name's Grayson, and he's going to have his first birthday. Anyway, we were talking, and Justice kind of looked, you know, like she was sort of at odds and ends and didn't quite know what to do. So I urged her to take her chalk and go over to our driveway and make us beautiful flowers that the driveway really, you know, needed beautiful flowers on it. And so she did, and pretty soon she and Grayson and Mom were out on the driveway making flowers, and JC and I were in the house, and we started to walk out, and, you know, here was this gorgeous, you know, 4-year-old beautiful flowers, and Grayson with his, you know, not quite 1-year-old, trying to figure out how to fit in, and there was a brush that was being used to kind of mute colors and everything. And Justice shared the brush and gave a piece of chalk to Grayson. And immediately the response to that was about what wonderful sharing. You know, it was quick. It didn't make a big, huge thing out of it, but it was a significant comment on what wonderful sharing. And then I think JC and I had a comment or two. And I realized that, you know, the opportunities with children and teenagers, it seems to me, are to comment like that whenever you get an opportunity, and then make a connection to that comment to what one enjoys. It just makes feel good to share and let Jason, you know, figure out how to do that. And not a rhetorical question, I have to answer it, you know, but just kind of go on. And I think what I learned from my grandkids, and I might have said this before, but I'll repeat it again, is that by relating to them in those ways, when it came to some really big questions, I felt really privileged that they came to me. Like big question 1 was, Bubba, would you take me out to buy a bra? And big question number 2, just, you know, settling into college dorm, first year, new roommates, invites me over to see her dorm room and meet her roommates. But as soon as I arrive, roommates kind of disappear like something's been arranged. And the big question was, Bubba, when you were my age, had you had sex yet?
Oops.
Unbelievable.
And, you know, when I look back on them, I realize, you know, along the way that somehow I learned that because it didn't exist in my family when I was growing up. But I just learned that those questions, you know, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? You know, they just fall dead. I mean, those kids were buried in games, you know, they could hold in games, they could play with each other. But to sit down next to them and say, how do you do that? You know, and then they kind of teach me, you know, try something different. So anyway, I just want to kind of contribute that to the discussion.
Donna?
Yes, I was just going to say that, you know, as Julian was saying, you know, people are so busy, sometimes holding down more than one job. trying to make ends meet and all of that, especially if they have children in the house, that they're so busy that they don't maybe think they have the time to stop and actually be with their children in a very intimate way. Everybody's going in all different directions. And our society has kind of grown that way. So I think it's a sign of what we're seeing in our children, that maybe we better take some more time with our children and, you know, be able to answer those kind of questions that Lillian was sharing with us. But yeah, I've seen it in my friends' families and everything. They're so busy that they don't have that real intimate time. They don't take the time for it. And I think that's a disservice to our children.
Anne Claire.
I had one comment to Connie, and then I want to jump back to Donna's sermon yesterday or today. Connie, when I talk to kids coming out of high school, you know, they don't know what the heck they want to do. And my thing to them, I agree with everything JC said. It's too hard for them to even fathom it. But I always just tell them it's okay to change your mind. That's what you go there for. And that's a big part of it. You know, I changed majors 2 or 3 times in college to come out with where I was compared to what I thought, you know, in high school, when everybody I knew in high school wanted to be an oceanographer or a veterinarian. You know, nobody had figured out engineering or anything like that. So that was the one little comment for that. But Donna, your meditation was so wonderful. I just was absolutely filled with golden light. I just wanted to go say, can we stay here let's just stay here now, like a long time. It was really, really wonderful to just focus on that.
Thank you.
So thank you. It really was, that was for me the best part.
You know, and I highly recommend meditating. You know, guided meditations are really beautiful. And they really help you. I love them. And yeah, I'm glad that it helped you. Great, thanks.
Well, you know, if you like guided meditations.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. I didn't expect to have to finish that sentence. We have them on the UU channel on YouTube. My goodness. Jeez. Okay.
And I actually have a couple more that I'm getting ready to do. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sharon.
And Michael is the one that puts the beautiful music behind him. So.
Our very own. So good.
Yeah, we have Sharon and then Connie. It looks like Connie wants to get in.
I want to return to the opening statements of the sermon, Donna, where you're talking about bumper stickers. On the hatchback part of my Toyota Prius, it tells the whole message I want to portray to the world. If I had a bumper sticker, it would say something like this: go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible without surrender, be on good terms with all persons, speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Be yourself. That is from the Desiderata by Max Ehrmann.
I thought that sounded familiar.
Often it is given credit to Anonymous. So I thought you need to know that it's Max Ehrmann. But the back of my Prius is empty of any bumper stickers. And I'm hoping that people see it for what it symbolically means.
I don't have any bumper stickers on my car either. I don't think they're necessary for, you know, expressing who you are. Just be who you are. Yes.
So then we had Connie again.
So my second question, having to do with the sermon, was, and Donna, I don't know if you'll remember this part, it had to do with growing through suffering. And then you made a comment that we grow, I forget, that we grow through,
I have it right here.
you know what I'm talking about? Would you go back
Yes.
to that? Because I have a question about that.
Yes.
And
I'll find it so that I can say it exactly how I say it.
yeah, where we can grow through suffering,
It
but
says, yeah, well, we can grow through suffering.
But-
We can grow even faster through
That one.
peace. And our peacefulness
Mhm.
inspires others in ways suffering cannot.
Yeah.
okay,
Wow,
well,
yeah.
I have a comment about that.
Mhm.
I think that oftentimes we don't grow through suffering because we actually aren't very good about sharing our sorrows and sharing our grief. So I think we could do a lot of growing through suffering, but because in our society, we're not very good about communicating our grief and communicating our sorrow. And because of that, we can't, or we don't reach out to community to discuss those things. So that was my comment and my question.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Connie, because we can grow through suffering. That doesn't mean we always do. Because we get stuck in the suffering instead of looking at what it means for us. And if we start looking at what it means for us, I think then we open up that avenue for maybe, learning from it. But I know people who are stuck in their suffering and they're stuck in it. And so that's why I said, we can grow through suffering, but not everybody actually does that.
And I think it's because so many people feel that they're, they won't share it. They're stuck because they're trying to figure it out, but because they don't feel they have the right maybe to share that with somebody else or put that onto someone else. I really find that with grief, that oftentimes people don't feel, I don't want to be a downer, I don't want to do this, so I think that we really lose a lot because we don't share our grief and our suffering.
And that reminds me that maybe something you also hear a lot, I don't want to bother you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bother you. And there's something that's stopping us from sharing. And that's probably something different for every person if they, but yeah, I had to learn, I always felt like I had to do it myself, everything. And it took me a long time to just feel okay with talking to people about, that I didn't feel well about this or whatever. And, I think that we're just not taught to do that. I wasn't really taught to do that with other people. Within my family, I was okay, but we had to look good to other people.
Yeah.
And if you're sharing your woes, you don't look strong, and so that's something that we have to work on. And because every time I do, I just feel so much better, and everyone that I share with are so loving and everything and kind. So it helped me change my mind about that, slowly but surely. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, Joanne, and then Anne Claire.
So I've been thinking for the last couple days, what am I here for? Why am I here? I have a very good life. And I've been feeling, as you know, with my little cat dying, very sad. And so that brought up other things, living alone. What do I want to do? I can't follow her down the hallway because our princess always wanted me to follow her. And on and on and on. So life, even with just simpleness of a companion of an animal, changes my thoughts. And I've been wondering lately, what is it I'm here for? Why am I here? Do I want to be miserable while I'm here? And the answer to that is hell no. So, however, though, it's taken me a while to get to that. I have a very nice group on Monday who helps me out a lot. And I have good friends, but I too have been brought up, not or for lack of showing somebody, it was just to be as strong as I could. So it's hard, difficult to unlearn things, but I am because of Monday. So this morning I got up, as I have the last 2 or 3 mornings, and said, what am I here for? And I said, I'm here to bring joy and love to myself and others. So anyway, this is what I wrote when you opened up. And I hadn't thought of it before. Through my life, I've known things. I forget my things I should or want to know, and I learn them over again. So what is the most important thing to me? Well, of course, it's people. My family, my friends, the people I meet and see. However, to accomplish this, my first love is to respect and love me.
Yes. And then it's much easier to respect and love others. Yes. Yeah. You know, if you believe that, as I do, that we make the decision to come here to learn something, then this whole process of our lives is that learning process, as Gary Zukav calls it, the school, the Earth School. And so I think that if you want to be happier in that process, we also have to be patient. We have to be patient. And just like others were saying, you know, our children are very young, and you know, they might not find their passions until later in life, and that's okay. I think, though, that we should be encouraging them to think about that and talk to them about those kind of things, and maybe that will help it easier for them to find it. You know, just like in my sermon, you know, talking about Alonzo and what happened to him. Well, it was a strange way to find his passion, but he did. And then he really went for it. And I think when children find that passion, however they find it, they're going to go for it, you know, and that's the exciting part about life. And it's there for everybody. Everybody has their own unique gifts and their own, you know, passions. And, you know, we're here, like we're asking Joanne, we're here to share those, because that's what makes the whole, you know, a beautiful whole, because we're all sharing our passions and our gifts. So, yeah.
Anne Claire. Oh dear. So Anne Claire, yeah, sorry, I'm going to mute you real quick just because we're having some connectivity issues. Oh no, and of course we just lost you. Darn it. Well, hopefully she'll be back soon. Okay, who's next? JC.
Just while you were speaking, Donna, and after listening to Joanne, I remember when I was asked this question. I had just finished a ballet lesson, and mother was driving me home. I was 14, and she said, Jack, you need to make a decision about whether to put your time and put our time into the ballet or into school. That was like out of the blue. And I got the feeling from her that it was either the one or the other. Whereas up to this point in my life, that had been able to do both. But I guess it was going to mean if I'm going to stick with the ballet, I would be going more than once a week, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And that was not going to give me time to devote to education. Well, being savvy at 14, I knew that I had to make the right decision in her mind. And so I chose school. And that was the end of the ballet training. And I always felt it was a truly unfair request of me to make that decision an either or thing. But of course, neither one of us even considered that in 2 years I could drive myself to a class instead of having to be driven. I mean, you know, you just don't think of all of those things. So anyway, so I went full bore into school and came out of it knowing I was very smart, and that was not a good thing socially. So, and that I loved ballet, but it was a dreamy sort of thing. So I didn't really remember when I was listening to you this morning, Donna, that, oh yeah, I was told at 14 to decide on my passion. And I considered it an unfair question at the time.
I can understand.
Yeah. Amazing how these discussions poke around in your behind times.
Well, remember, we expect you to pay by the Epiphany. So.
Right.
But if it's okay for me to interject, JC, that's so sad. My high school girlfriend did ballet for 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, and she was the valedictorian of her class. And so that's too bad that you were made to make that choice. Yeah.
Well, what I learned later, of course, was that my mother's dream was to go to Hollywood and be a dancer in the movies.
Right.
I didn't
Not
know
a bad
that
dream.
at the time.
Yeah.
So that make more sense to me as I was older and was told some of the past stories. But yes, I thought it was sad, and I really felt jerked around. And I can sense that there were, Connie, back to your point, unshed tears of what that decision required of me. I had to give up an aspect of myself that I really hadn't explored, of what it was meaning to me. And I guess Mother didn't want me to go down that path if I wasn't willing to commit everything to it. So anyway, enough of that. But it is amazing how all of a sudden this has come into my life just this morning, and I hadn't even thought of it till now.
Have any of you seen the movie Billy Elliot?
Yes.
No. It's a wonderful story about a young boy following his passions against
Yes, I have.
yeah, the actually the whole community and how he came about and is an amazing dancer. It's based on a true story. Anyway, I would recommend that one too. Talk about somebody who realized the passion, and it was a passion.
Laline, did I see your hand? Yep.
You did. Thank you for mentioning that. That's one of my absolute favorite movies. It seems strange to me sometimes to say that I have never not known in my life what really mattered to me and what my passions were. And when I look back on it, I realize, of course, I'm a product of my environment, and my early world had some really negative, truly negative aspects to it. And so there was always running through my mind that favorite children's book I mentioned to you all I had about the little train that could, I think I can, I think I can, I think. I used to say that all the time. And it didn't matter how poor we were, or the housing project, or the schools, or whatever. It just seemed that I truly believed and never gave up hope that I could do something, that there was something within my power, I guess, either my voice or my actions or whatever, to make life better, to make life different. And when I look back on my life, I told you all about, my introduction to racism, if you remember that, and having to see my very first best friend, 6 years old, and have to go one way to school, and for me to go another. And then they integrated the damn schools, and when I was 14. And right then I knew there was a time when, we should all have the same thing. It's like we should all have houses, we should all have mommies and daddies, we should all have enough money, we should all go to the best schools, we should. And my inner self was convinced of that. And to me, going to the NAACP and, calling a boycott and organizing my high school to not do something that was truly racist and would exclude these 5 or 6 Black kids who suddenly came to our school was a natural thing. And I just want to say, when I look down on my life, I emerged at the age of, what was it, almost 30, on Fire Island, screaming, "Damn it, I have a right to my life on this planet." And that came out of knowing I was a lesbian. I didn't have my space, and I had a right to that space. And in that moment, in that yelling, and that screaming, and that jumping up and down, I realized my life had already been about that. It had just been about that for other people. But it was all leading up to for me, but then it was really leading up to for everyone. And so when I found you, it just made sense with everything my life had already been about. I hadn't been so anti-church, because they considered me sinful and a lot of other things. I might have been a you much, much earlier. I guess what I'm trying to say, though, is that there are qualities like, equality and justice and love and compassion that to me matter, always mattered. And so the activity or the choices that I made in my life, reflected that. And I used to think a long time ago that, wouldn't it be wonderful if everyone were born with a talent, like you knew you wanted to be a doctor, or in the case of my brother, he knew he loved opera and he wanted to work in the opera world and he spent his life there, or, other people who have these passions. And I realized that no, we don't all have a talent, but we do have passion. We do have things that matter to us. And I don't know what the difference is around how young, one finds out what those passions are. Because I have 4 great grandkids and 2 of them don't have a clue. Don't have a clue. And the other 2 do. But they also have a talent. One wants to be, a musician, and he's an incredible musician. And the other one is an artist, and she wants to be an animator, and she's an amazing artist. And the other 2 can't find their talent. So I don't know what it is that brings, that together. And some of us at a young age and some of us never. Maybe. I don't know. Just food for thought.
Donna, did you have anything to say to that?
Well, I guess the thing I want to say is it's never too late to express your passion or to aspire to it or whatever. And as I was saying before, it's probably a different journey. Well, it is a different journey for each and every one of us. And in that journey, we may find those passions early, like some of the young children, that just, they're born musicians, they're born, singers, they're just born that way and they've got it, they know it. And then there's others who, I've seen people who go through just some ups and downs until they finally find something that sparks their passion and it changes their whole lives. So it is a journey, and I'm hoping that for us older people on the earth and the teachers and everything, that we can help our children find that, because our children they're the ones that are going to really change our world. And just be patient. They'll find it when they find it. And just allow them to look for it. That's the big thing. To allow them to do all of that, searching and trying things out. And I know, as JC was saying, a lot of times the parents in good faith, trying to direct their children to make decisions early and do this and that. It was all in good faith. They didn't, they do the best they can. But yeah, we just have to go with the flow, and hopefully with the encouragement of our parents and teachers, that we can encourage our children. But never give up. I'm never going to give up. I mean, I'm this age, and you know what? I got a lot of living left to do, and my passion is travel, so I'm going to do it. Find the way to do it. So, yeah. Thank you, Lily.
JC, I see it. We're in our last couple minutes, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody who wanted to say something had gotten a chance to. And I'm scanning the room and not seeing anyone. Okay, JC, go for it.
Well, in support of what we've come to now, I have to say to Kim's remark, if there is someone in a child's life who tells them they're not worthy, that their ideas are not wonderful, that they're not intriguing and open for all kinds of happiness, that is a sin. And I don't believe anyone who is a teacher would find that helpful, because a teacher is looking for you to find what is alive in you. On the other hand, yes, there are people who feel they need to put children down and have them be quiet, and all of those people, yes, that I agree with you, is not the way a child can find his or her place in the world. And I'm glad you're sensitive to that. And that we're all sensitive to that. So anyway.
Okay. Did you want to say anything to that, Kim, since you were brought up?
Well, I'm just glad we're in an agreement on that, because I would never want to hurt a child or shame a child or make them feel bad. I only want what's the best for a child.
Fair enough. I hope that we can all agree on that. Yeah, Joanne.
However, though, the best way to hurt a child or an individual is to ignore them.
Yes.
Neglect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Point, yes.
Yeah, Laura Lee.
Well, I have to chime in here. I had a very good partner in life, and when we decided to have children, he studied up on how to be a good parent. And I just thought that I knew it all anyway, But for all three of our sons, whatever they had a passion for or exhibited a passion for. They all three wanted to take horseback riding lessons, so we provided them with horseback riding lessons. I wanted Michael in college to take philosophy,
Yes.
and he did music. Okay, that's it.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you all for a wonderful, wonderful Sunday talk. Donna, would you like to send us off with a benediction of sorts?
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to encourage everyone to, really, if you don't already know, what are your ideas? What do you stand for, and then try to carry those forward in everything that you do. I know I don't make it every time, but, at least I know and I work towards that. But, I try not to get angry, but sometimes I get angry, and that's okay. But I think the most important thing is, what do you want to be in this world? And then, as Gandhi says, be the change you want to be. And that takes some inner reflection. So that's what I encourage you to do.
Okay.
So then think about that.
You betcha.
Well,
Yeah.
Thank you, Donna.
Well, thank you all for joining us for this post-service discussion. Of course, we will be doing it again next week. Sign in at 11:15 and discussion at 11:30. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us out with the algorithms immensely. And for everyone else, I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.